Welcome to Leadership Legacy Radio, where we inspire you to live your dreams, encourage you to take massive action, and be your authentic and genuine self. We focus on 3 pillars. That's empowering youth, equipping leaders, and enriching marriages so that you can go out and dominate your space.
If you're ready to dominate, you're listening to the right show. This is the Leadership Legacy Radio. Now let's go.
Hey, what time is it? What time is it? We are ready. Listen, it's my favorite time of the day, your favorite time of the day. Let's get to it. My question for you today is, are you matching energy, right? Are you reacting or are you responding? It's important that you learn to respond instead of reacting, right? And that's really important because I want you to understand, what that means, what that looks like. For most people, they do match energy, and it's really important that you understand what that means. I know it's cool to say, but I want you to make sure that you understand that if you match energy, you can get into a pitfall of doing the wrong things. But when you set the energy, you can actually be focused and disciplined in the way that you show up, right? If you are emotionally charged in the moment and you're not mentally mature, what tends to happen is chaos tends to ensue, right? So I'll give you a good example. You are driving, somebody cuts you off, and how do you respond or react, right? Most people get upset, yell, or whatever. That's a reaction, right? That's like you not being ready, not understanding what's going on. But you responding is you slowing down and going, you know what? I need to be careful. I always need to be defensive. I need to make sure that I understand what's going on in the specific moment. Now, I remember for me, there was a specific instance in time where I had been helping people, take care of stuff and doing specific things to help them, run their business and just show up the right way. And one of the things that I really enjoy is being able to add value to others, however that may be. How I show up, how I help, how I serve. That's always been important to me because I've been always excited about seeing people be successful, seeing people thrive. Now, in this particular instance, I had been doing that, and then a few people took notice of what had happened, and I had been asked about a particular position, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I never thought about doing that, but that sounds kind of cool. And then what ended up happening is, as I was kind of getting myself ready to actually take over this role, or to actually potentially entertain the decision for the role, I started to get questioned about what were my qualifications and all of these different things. And for a moment, I was just thinking, wait a minute. I know I have the qualifications. And I was thinking to myself about responding, right? Not responding. It was really reacting in that moment, right? I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to show how much experience I had and all of these different things. But I had to pause because I really wanted to get defensive and prove something, and I didn't need to. You see, when you understand that reacting to a situation lowers your ability to communicate effectively, to show up in the best way that you can, when you respond to a situation, you are focused on your legacy. When you react to a situation, you are focused on your ego. And I want you to really think about that. Your ego is the one that puffs up and gets ready to show people how much you are, how good you are. None of that matters. What people think of you, just let it go. Stop always trying to react. Now, when you respond, this is about you staying in an alignment with who you are. Remind yourself, you know your worth, you know your value, you know what you bring to the table. You do not have to prove anything. Stay there, continue to be there, because you do not have to prove yourself to anybody. The second thing that I really want you to think about when I ask about reacting versus responding is knowing that your value is in how you show up. You don't have to show anybody like your value. People may question what you do without knowing your story. They may not know how long you've been doing what you're doing. Responding means you stay grounded without having to perform for approval, right? It is not about trying to get a stamp of approval from somebody else. Show up, do your very best, give them great energy, because that is what it means, right? Your story is important, not what somebody else may think, not what somebody else may believe. Everybody has gotten to a point in their life where they are either bitter or better because of something that has happened. I choose on a regular basis to be better. I'm going to show up regardless of what happened to me, right? Because I don't have to prove my value or my worth to anybody else. And with that, I want you to think about the situation that I was talking about earlier when I was sharing about the car, right? If you are to pause and then either react or respond to the situation accordingly, because sometimes a reaction is warranted to keep you safe, and then the response comes, and then you lead yourself well. Those things need to be very, very intentional, because when you pause, this allows you to think about what's about to happen. This allows you to, if you need to react quickly, you do that in an appropriate manner. Then you respond even better, right? So you respond a little bit slower, but this is because you want to show up in the best way that you know how. For me right now, it's important that I show up a certain way because I know that my children are watching. I know that my family is watching. I know that children around me are watching. I know that I am an example, and that the way that I show up, it determines how people look at me moving forward. Now, although I'm not worried about people's opinions, I do know that opinion can be formed based on how I respond or react to a situation. So if you ever feel yourself about to react inappropriately, or maybe just react out of emotion, which tends to be the part that gets us in trouble, I want you to just breathe, reflect, and then respond. Respond in a way that it aligns with your values, that it aligns with who you are, with who you're becoming, and what you want to be known for. You see, when I think about how I've shown up throughout my career, how I've shown up in the entrepreneurial space, listen, I'm not worried about trying to compete with people. I'm not here to compete with anybody. Listen, the only competition I have is the one in the mirror. Now, what I am going to do is I am going to show up in the very best way that I know how, right? I'm going to show up, and I'm going to show up in my very best. The experience that I have is the experience that I have. And I have a lot of experience. But I'm not going to compare my experience to that of others. I don't ever go around questioning other people's qualifications, questioning their motives. I don't do that because I believe that what is for me is for me. There is enough room at the top. I remember hearing a quote, and the quote went something like, there's not a lot of room at the top, right? It was somebody sharing something, and I was thinking to myself, whoever said that was not a leader, because there's plenty of room at the top. Listen, while I was serving in the military, one of the things that was always kind of like shared was the numbers of the people at the highest positions. Let's say positions, right? And that was always shared in a manner of either being a motivation or a way for you to understand why certain people were getting to that level. And here is what I found out. At the very top, 1% of the population, right? Below that, it was, I want to say it was like 3%, and then it was like 5%. And the people that had made it to the 1%, they talked about how hard it was and these different things. But sometimes what I noticed is that the people that were in that category were trying to inspire people to come up. They were trying to pull people up. But there were others that were like, well, you can't make it because there's only 1%. You should lower your standard because it only 1% can make it there. Okay, check this out. If only 1% can make it there, what does that mean? It means that everybody has an opportunity to get there. I look at the world population and all of the billions of people that have lived and walked this earth, and how many people have served. It's less than 1% of the world population that serves in the military. And you have several branches, right? You got the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, the Marines, and the Coast Guard, right? You got those branches. And think about it, less than 1%. So once you get in there, 1% gets promoted. But listen, if you do a really good job, if you lead people well, you can make it to that 1%. So don't let anybody tell you where you can and can't go. Don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't do. You have to believe in yourself. And listen, I've been sharing content with you guys about everything that I'm putting in my book. And it's because I want you to understand one key concept. And it's the title of the book. It's about borrowed belief. Listen, if people aren't going to believe in you, it's okay. John put it like this: you can be successful if nobody believes in you, but you can't be successful if you don't believe in yourself. And until you have that belief, just know that Coach Chris has your back. I believe in you. So borrow my belief and go out and dominate your space.